The information shared on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While we discuss topics related to mental health, well-being, and emotional support, we are not providing therapy or medical services. Always seek the advice of your physician, psychologist, psychiatrist, or other qualified mental health provider with any questions you may have regarding a mental health condition. If you are in crisis, feeling unsafe, or need immediate support, please contact a mental health professional or emergency services in your area. The views expressed by guests and hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of any affiliated organizations or institutions.
Get inspired, get motivated with M.A.Y.A and the M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition podcast.
Something that I take pride in is trying to be forward thinking, thinking outside the box, challenging myself. And as I challenge myself, hopefully I challenge you.
Find M.A.Y.A on Twitter and Instagram at M.A.Y.A_Akai. On Facebook at M.A.Y.A Akai Presents.
We're going to talk health, wealth, fitness, mental health, financial, lots of different things that can empower you as you seek out the ambition that you're pursuing.
Or get everything M.A.Y.A at M.A.Y.A_Akai.com.
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to episode 84 of M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition. And I'm just going to say this, 2026 is already trying to mess with me. We already had to have a technical difficulty that we had to work out, which made us a little late, but we are ready to go and it's all good. So no worries. I am so excited about this show. As you guys know, I kicked off something in 2025 in the month of August called the Ambition Shows, because I wanted to bring people to the forefront who had found a way to take their passion, intersect it with their purpose, and they pushed it forward with their motivation and ambition. It's one thing to talk to people about it, but when you hear other people's stories about how they went through adversity, but still were able to achieve what they wanted, it's inspirational. So I didn't want to just keep talking to people about, you can do this if you want to. I brought people on who shared their stories, and it continues. There were 13 amazing guests. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't stop. Matter of fact, kicking off 2026 off with this guest is going to be fantastic, and I'm very excited about it. So with that being said, if you are a first-time viewer or listener, welcome. I just always say buckle up for safety, because, I might say something or my guest may say something that really makes you go, and that's okay, because that's what the show is about. Now, if you're a returning listener or viewer, welcome back. I always appreciate your support. You know how we do things here. I always say, find that spot for the next, 30, 60 minutes, whatever it might be. Grab pencil and paper, jot down, take some notes, because something might come back that you want to revisit later, and grab your beverage of choice and just relax and make this time about you, because that's what we do here at M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition. But with that being said, let me just say, when I told you we are about to kick off 2026 and we are going big, we are going big. My guest I'm having on for episode 84 is author Melanie L. Brown, and we're going to be discussing her book, which you can find on Amazon Kindle, My Life Without Sex. A 40-year-old virgin shares how to set boundaries to wait for sex. Can I just tell everybody, when I decided to bring this topic up and bring her on, it was amazing how many people start sending me text messages and posts, and they're like, I got questions. I really want to hear more about this. And I said, well, good. Make sure that you tune in. Now, remember, if you missed any of the other episodes, never fear. Hopefully by now you have subscribed to my YouTube page, which is M.A.Y.A Speaks to You. You can find all former episodes there. But of course, you can always find my podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Audibles, Spotify. If you name it, you can find it there. But I always tell people I've kind of found a way to make this a little bit easier for you. You can actually take M.A.Y.A on the go, because I actually have an app. Yes, I finally got it together, and I'm promoting my app that I wasn't talking about. You can find it in the Apple Store, as well as you can find it in Amazon. So right now, those are the two platforms that you can get it to check it out. But again, everything Maya is right there for you. So I'll put this up later where you can scan the QR codes if you need the Apple Store or the Amazon Store to be able to download the app. And right there, you can take the Maya experience right in the palm of your hands wherever you go. Besides the fact that it does feature my podcast, the other piece to this that is equally as important is I do actually have a website. And on the website is a lot of like powerful and good things that I definitely like to share with people. I have a inspirational blog, which one time throughout the course of the week, it's on Wednesdays, I will post an inspirational thought for you. I'm not going to give you daily because what I share, I really want you to reflect deep on and get something from it. And then the other side of that is I actually have my Me.on.Pause blog. Everybody who knows me at this point knows that I am the poster child for menopause. So the Me.on.Pause blog is helping women to understand how to go through this big change in their life and gives you tools and resources. But I also took a step back because I realized something. I was kind of selling this for women, but I realized, fellas, you need to know what your significant others might be going through because going through menopause is no joke. It has a lot of changes. There are 60 symptoms that are related to menopause that most women don't know. That can be life-changing. So that every week on Wednesdays, I post something I think would be a nugget of information for you to know on the blog. So that's another reason, one, to make sure you follow me and get social with me on my different social media platforms. But more importantly, just go get the My Experience app and everything is right there for you. Now, with that being said, we can jump fresh into episode 84. Let's talk choosing being a virgin. And you know what? It's interesting how this can be such like I guess, just absolutely like hot topic for people. It makes me think about growing up at some point when Madonna came out with the song Like a Virgin. It was a big deal. Like here was this girl talking about like a virgin, which she was the furthest thing from, but that's another story. Kind of oxymoronic that it was nothing about Madonna that was a virgin, but just that word alone really gets people like interested. I want to put a couple things out there before we start the conversation. Have some understanding about the ideal of virginity versus celibacy versus abstinence, because they are technically three different things. Virginity literally means that you have never had any form of sexual intercourse. Okay, everybody, this is an adult show. So I kind of need for you to take a deep breath because we're going to have to say some adult words. What that means is you have never had anal, vaginal, any type of sexual activity. Yes, we're talking like that today, so get ready. Whereas celibacy means at some point you may have had sex in the past, but you have decided that you no longer want to be sexually active. And you kind of, I guess, it's called that second virginity. So you have sex in the past, but for whatever reason, people have chosen that they no longer want to engage in that activity. Whereas abstinence, on the other hand, is very close to celibacy to a degree, but it kind of goes a bit further in a broader approach. It's avoidance of any type of sexual activity. So some people might be celibate, and this is why I can't wait to talk to Melanie about this, because I do find that I feel people are making their own terms of engagement for this, like what this really means. So let me just say this, wrap your head around these stats. The average age of sexual encounters in the United States begins at 17 years old. So pretty much in high school. What we have found, and I'm gonna tell you, this made me go, I was shocked to find out in a recent study that was done roughly 2023 through 2025, that in the survey, when they looked at the age range of 22 to 34 years old, 10% of the men in the group and 7% of the women in the group were virgins. And actually, believe it or not, that was an increase from the last study they had done in 2013 or 2015, which was 4% men and 5% women. Can I ask the question? Did everybody think those numbers would be reversed? That women would actually have a higher rate of virginity than men? Not so much. And what's more interesting is we're finding that there's a trend to this. So by the way, my guest is ahead of the curve when it talks about what's happening. There is something that's now being termed sex recession, where late virginity is growing among adults, especially men are deciding to have sex later. And there's several factors they say that go into it. Everything from education might determine it, location, like if you're rural versus if you're urban, different things. But take a note on this. there are some trends that are definitely pushing this forward that they're saying is a reason why this is happening. They're saying that things, for instance, such as extended adolescence is influencing this choice, where young adults are staying home longer. Two, they're often not doing things like driving or even having employment. Also, there's a shift in socialization. There's more of a decline in in-person social interactions, as well as alcohol consumption among young adults, which is obviously influencing their casual sexual behavior. And we know that for sure at that point, we have a generation, which is, I want to say, Gen Z, which is like 1997, I think, is where the start of that is. For them, they are known as the digital generation because they have spent more time understanding the internet, social media, and so forth. So those numbers that are being reflected in that group is really unique. So I've given you some stats to let you know that what you're about to hear from my guest is unique to her, but she's ahead of the curve because the sex recession has begun. Welcome to the ambition stage, everybody. Melanie L. Brown. Hey, Melanie, how
Hey,
are
Maya.
you?
Hey, everybody.
Yes. Can I just tell you, this conversation to me is really interesting because for some reason it's as taboo as all get out. Like, I was surprised the response I got from people. They're like, she's 40? Wait, she's never. I'm like, look, I'm like, I didn't write the book, so I can't tell you, but you better tune into the show so we can get into the details of this. So tell us a bit about who is Melanie L. Brown and where did this journey come from?
Okay, so I am actually 42. I made 42 December 14th. And so I entitled the book, the 40-year-old version, going off of when I mostly wrote the book at age 40. And I did some finishing touches to it last year. But, I was, kind of like teased a little bit because of the movie, the 40-year-old version. So I
Right.
was taking my power back and saying like, hey, no, I'm not going to be looking at this as a negative thing. I'm even going to put it in the title of the book because it was moments where we can get out to that, but I'm the oldest of six.
Okay. Oh,
And
what's the six?
I'm the oldest of six. I have both of my parents. My parents been married for over 43 years. My grandparents was married for over 65 years. Been raised in the church, and I think that's the major influence of it all. And then another thing is too, but I mean, people in church having sex. So, there's a lot of babies. The children's ministry ain't lacking. So
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that for people because there was going to be that idea. Well, what do you mean they're having sex? Well, because they're people. So yes, they are. So
people. So preteen, I decided to be on this journey when I was a preteen. Again, the oldest of six is 5 girls, 1 boy, and I'm the big sister. So I wanted to be an example, that hey, if big sis can wait, you can wait. And so some of the other young women at the church started realizing like, oh, she's waiting, she can do it, I can do it. And then, as we got older, that wasn't the thing anymore. It's like, hey, you grown. If you make your decisions to wait, you can. If you don't, so be it, or whatever. But it was a decision I made for myself that I felt like it was the best fit for me.
I mean, I'll be honest, to make that decision as a preteen is a big deal because what the research tells us is that obviously sex begins pretty much a little bit after preteen. The average age was 17. So a high schooler is when it starts. And to be honest, in some cases, it's actually starting younger than that, unfortunately.
It
But that's
is.
the average age that it came in. So as a preteen, one, it has to be then the conversation about sex must have been had in your house. I'm going to assume.
Yeah. When I got on my first menstrual, it was talked about real good. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, this means you can get what? This means you can get pregnant. So, you know.
Okay. But I mean, I guess it is a good way to kind of combine two difficult conversations to have with your daughter.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, wait as long as you can. I mean, they didn't expect me to wait this long. But they said, when you feel like you're ready to have that step, come to the family, and we'll, I guess go from there. Probably is going to provide me with protection and different things like that. And that would have been an awkward conversation even to have with, family. Like, yeah, can I get those condoms? No, it's just weird. Like, it's
Right.
so
Well, I mean, and this is why these conversations, Melanie, I feel doesn't happen. A lot of parents
Mhm.
do not know how to talk to their children about the complicated things like sex. In fact, they don't have the conversation. So I think it's interesting because one, I feel like your family seems a little different than usually when people envision the idea of a religious family, right? Someone who's spiritual. They're not in their minds thinking there's going to be conversations about, sex or anything like that, so to speak. But it sounds like within your family, there was an openness and a need to make sure that you were informed. Hence, you could then make informed decisions.
Exactly. And then two, to think about the family when you make this decision, you know? So how my reactions sexually or whatever, that reputation, depending on, if I was adventurous or, whatever, it could come back on the family. Do you want to make the family look bad?
That part right there. So when I was having this conversation with some different people about the show, I said, what's interesting is there was always a double standard about sexual activity for boys and obviously for girls. That's why the numbers that show that more men are being virgins kind of surprise me because men are always told, go forth into the world and sow your wild oats, put some, notches on your belt, do all that stuff. Whereas
Mm,
girls are taught, or at least within my household, it was like, okay, listen to this. Your reputation precedes you. If you're
yeah.
going to be out in the streets like that, that's going to follow you and it doesn't go away. And it went even deeper to be like real talk, like, look, a ton of little boys are going to tell you that they love you. They know nothing about that. And you just don't want to be giving of yourself that way to everyone that you meet. It's private. It's personal. You are sacred. That's the conversation that happened in my house. Now,
Good.
mind you, as a kid, I was like, what? Okay.
Right. Like, what are y'all
Oh,
talking about? Okay. Okay.
well, and the thing is, one, I was a tomboy. So I was
Me
like,
too.
come on. I don't want to hear about this.
Exactly.
I wasn't into boys. I really feel I was a late bloomer, to tell you
Me,
the truth.
me
But
too.
that thing about respecting yourself was really big in my household.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It definitely was. I agree with you totally. And I think that's important. People need to know that your decisions don't necessarily just affect you, it can affect people around you. Now they have to defend you. Somebody calling you a hoe or somebody doing this, doing that, all that. And so another thing was my parents was like overprotective. Like they kept us inside. We had friends, but it was like a group of girls we can hang with on one side of the block, one end of the block, another group of girls we can hang
Okay.
with on the other end of the block.
Right.
Once one of the girls ended up pregnant, come on back home. That ain't your friend no more.
The, I probably shouldn't say this on air, but it left an impression on me when she said it. And I was also embarrassed at the same time.
Hmm.
So I went to an all girl Catholic school for high school.
Okay.
And I remember my grandma coming to pick me up from school.
Mhm.
And I was giving some friends a ride home. We had found out that day at school that one of the girls were pregnant. Now, mind you, an all girl Catholic school, a pregnant girl. It's like,
Wow.
oh,
Yeah. Wow.
no.
Right.
When
Oh.
Catholic girls don't do that, that's a joke, folks. So just hold it. That's a joke. My grandma's listening to the conversation with us in the back seat, and she goes, "So one of your friends is pregnant?" We're like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, well, what did you ladies learn from that?" And we're like, "Huh? That she's pregnant?" That's what we learned.
Right. Exactly. What else? Like,
She is at a stoplight. She turns around and she looks us in the back seat. She goes, "You know what the moral of the story to that is?" I'm like, "What?" Everybody, this is grown up language, so get ready. But it left an impression on me. She said, "Don't play pussy and get fucked."
oh, mm,
And we all went,
oh,
and she's
okay.
like, and she was like, "Do you understand what that means?" She goes, "That girl's life has now just changed forever because
Hmm.
she is now going to be a mother and she can no longer be a child and she's going to be responsible. She's going to take care of that kid and the rest of her life will be changed forever." She goes, "When will young women realize that when you get pregnant and you are not married or not in a position to care for yourself, everything about your life changes?"
It changes. It changes.
She goes, "There's a responsibility," she said, "to sex that so many people don't understand. It's more than just an act."
It's more than just an act. Some adults don't even understand about sex. They don't know what all the diseases are. They don't know too much, and so it gets ridiculous. But yeah, no, to your point. And then since it was five girls, they're like, hold on, we can't have that baby fever going on. everybody thinking like, oh, we can come here and get, just get it in over here with all these girls and pop out babies. No. So my parents was like, my dad was like, ain't happening. Come on back home. That ain't your friend like that no more.
There you go. And the thing that's interesting about this to me, about the sex piece, is that there is a shift happening in society. But it's weird. We had a shift and perhaps it's shifting back because now there's a sex recession where people are choosing to hold on to their virginity longer. I've actually worked with some people in therapy who are like, have decided that they want to be celibate, that they do not want sex to be the thing that determines the nature of their relationship.
That's amazing. Yeah.
They want to be seen and heard as an individual. As one woman said, I am not merely a vessel for you to think that you can insert and keep going. And she was like, and that attitude, she said, bothered her when a lot of men would behave as if somehow she owed that to them. And
Right.
she's like, and she decided just to take it off the table, like altogether. So let me ask you this question, because it's one thing to have the support at home, and I think that is fantastic. But what happens once you walked out of the doors of your home and then you had to go to school where your parents couldn't be there? How did you then navigate? I'm sure the minute that any of your peers found out that you were a virgin, I'm sure the conversation was interesting. So how did you manage to kind of keep your head above water when obviously a lot of your peers were probably doing the opposite?
So in high school, my friends knew I was like, I was different. And so they were like keeping stuff away from me. So if they had little parties, little orgies, whatever they was doing, they would make sure I was not around when they did that. So they like, okay, Mel's gone. Now we can do whatever we met here to do. Or if they were about to tell a story, like, hey, you know who went down, yada, yada, yada. And then they'd look at me and they're like, oh, I can't even say it because Mel right here. She looking at me. I can't even say it. Or somebody come up to me and cover my ears or whatever. And so it's kind of like, I felt like at the moment, I kind of felt like, not the black sheep, but kind of ostracized in a sense. Like, man, I can't. I mean, I can listen to some stuff. Like, I mean, that's not going to make me do it. But then,
Right.
In a sense, I kind of felt like, hey, I want a story to tell. So that was a bad thought too, because it was like, man, everybody got stories to tell. I'm just, my conversation dry. I ain't got nothing to say. Everybody like, oh, over the summer this happened. Oh, and I came back. Yeah, over the summer I was with my family. We went to road trips and stuff. So it's like, eventually I think I was a junior or a senior. I wanted some type of story. So one summer I was like, I went over a boy house and I was like, woo, and I thought that was doing something. I was like, yeah, and he seen my titties and rubbed on me a little bit. But I felt good because I had something to say.
Yeah, something to say.
I was like, man, don't act like I'm just a little kid and whatever. But when I thought about it, it was just like, later on in life, I'm like, peer pressure normally don't get me. So that's what helped me stay the way I was, and then too, people respected me. So I'm like, it's not a bad thing for people to respect you. And one of the teachers had to pull me aside and tell me that, like, you're different for a reason.
Yes.
Don't you understand what's going on right now? Because I was all mad and hurt because I, felt different. But different doesn't mean you're deficient. So I think, and now I even know even more because people look at me like, what? Man, that's amazing. Some people think it's a good thing, guys. That's the hardest part, dating. The hardest part is dating.
I was going to ask you that. How did it affect you dating in high school?
So in my mindset in high school, it helped also in elementary school was that I knew I wanted to wait for marriage to have. I'm not, ain't nobody marrying me in elementary school. Ain't nobody marrying me in high school. So I'm like, what I did was anybody that I felt could get it, I pretty much was trying to stay away from that guy. I'm like, ooh, I can't be around a popular guy. Ooh, I can't do this. Because I'm like, I'm not ready to make that step. And since he's so fine or whatever, so popular, I don't even want to put myself in that temptation because I know he ain't trying to marry me. So I would date people I could say no to.
I like that approach. And that's interesting because now, see, you're also putting some things on the table that I think people need to consider. Because to me, you were the last of something that was starting to fade away. So if you think about it this way, if you think back 50 years, which would be right like 1976 roughly. Isn't that crazy to say? That's wrong. I was roughly like 4 years old, like literally. It was taboo to be a woman and having sex, to not be a virgin. You know what I'm saying? And God forbid if you got pregnant. Now roll that back another 50 years, like 100 years, and you're talking about, you know, 1926. Think about that. The attitude about women and sex was very, if you were not a virgin when you were married, you were looked down upon. It was frowned. It was like the scarlet letter. Whereas that was something that was expected, that you were a good girl if you were a virgin and then you got married, and the idea of marriage. And then all of a sudden we've had this shift where there is a decline in marriage that's being talked about, that's happening, but also there was that liberation, that sexual liberation for women, which I guess in its own token could be confusing. I understand why it happened. Like, we don't want someone else to tell us our narrative about our bodies, like why we can't do something. But at the same time, I always question if that particular narrative was a double-edged sword, because now we see the idea of sex. Look at the numbers I talked about. Men are staying virgins longer than women. That's, to me, blows my mind. And girls are having sex earlier. So it's an interesting trend that we've had, where marriage used to be the reason when people decided that that's what they would have sex, because marriage and sex was meant to produce children. And now there's been a shift where having sex has nothing to do with necessarily having children.
Nothing to do. And to your point, some guy was telling me that women being on birth control and being on different things like that is causing them to not be married. Because he said back in the day, I guess basically the shotgun marriages, when you got pregnant from having sex, now you got to get married to that person. But since you got birth control and you just have sex and not have a baby as a result, it's not forcing somebody to get married. But I'm like, why is somebody got to have a baby to marry a girl?
I'm gonna say I don't think that's necessarily all true, because I know a whole bunch of people who got babies and they ain't married. So I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know what he was talking about either. But I was just like, what? But
I will know. That's interesting. I'll tell you a story that happened to me in my 20s when I was dating. And I was definitely, like, for instance, I know I held on to my virginity way longer than most of the people I knew. Like, I went to college as a virgin. And I remember sitting around the dorm rooms listening to these girls talk. And I was like, and I wasn't naive. That's the thing. Like, you heard how my grandmother talked, right? So I was not naive. That wasn't it. But I was surprised at the sexual activity and the things they were doing. And I was just like, okay. It didn't spur me on. But then what was interesting is, when I was in my 20s and dating, I had a guy say to me once, and I was like, you need to seek help. He said, I don't understand why it's a first date. Why do you have an issue with just having sex? And I said, well, what makes you, one, think I actually want to have sex with you? Let's start with that. I was like, but two, what makes you think I put out like that? And he looked at me like, what do you mean putting out? He goes, it's important to get to the things like right away that matter in a relationship, so we can figure out if it's a good fit. And then if we both like it, and he goes, and everything else will come after it. And I said, that sounds really ridiculous.
I've heard that
somehow what you just told me, that what you value more in a relationship is the sexual encounter and less about the other pieces. And he goes, well, those things could fall in place. I said, that's usually what doesn't happen. You're starting with something that, don't get me wrong, and you would, and tell me how you feel about this, considering it's not you. Intimacy in a relationship has a place, people. It does. I will never look at anybody and tell them, oh, sex doesn't matter if you're in a relationship. Of course it matters. It's a connection piece. But the difference to me is, Melanie, everybody sees sex differently. For some people, they do see their body as a temple, and they don't want to be intimate and have everyone they're with like that. Whereas other people see no emotion behind sex. They see it as just an act. So first, it's like, what kind of person are you? That's what people have to determine. But what would you how do you speak to that in trying to have adult relationships at that point? Because there's a thought that that's supposed to be part of adult relationships.
Oh, definitely. They definitely feel that way. Some people like, I can't even hear you or get close to you until we become intimate. I just can't, So they say this is the time of the year of the promiscuous woman. So she's out here. You're competing against her. So she's having sex with the guys and bringing her friends. So it's just like, if that's the most important, when you ask a lot of guys, what's your love language? 9 times out of 10, the top 2 is physical touch and words of affirmation.
Yep.
They want to feel something and hear something.
They want
They
say it
do.
one more, say it one more time. Say it one more time.
They want to feel something and hear something.
There you go.
The love languages are physical touch and words of affirmation. That's the top 2 for most guys. And so they feel like they're expressing love, or they feel loved when there's sex involved. There's physical touch. And physical touch does not even have to be sex. You can release endorphins from hugging somebody 20 seconds. You get that feeling. So it's like, just be around the person. Just cuddle with them. Just hold them. Just kiss them. Whatever. Be more creative. People want to go straight into the act. And you don't even know these people. If you spent a little more time getting to know them, you would know some of these people you should not even touch. Because they let everybody touch them.
But see, that right there becomes another interesting dynamic. And I don't know that men have to deal with it as much as women do. The reputation, because even though there's supposed to be this sexual liberation, right, that women can go out and do what they want to do and who they want to do it with, that stigma still sits for women. That
men, Maya, they say men got community dick. So they talk about him too, and they're like, I don't want that. Like, he be everywhere.
Yes,
with anybody.
This is true.
Over, he going. So I mean, there are some men that just out here too, just terrible. So it's unfortunate, but that's what a lot of them think, or they think how fine they are represents how much sexual activity they should have in the beginning. It was this guy who he felt like he was so unique. So I think he was a black guy with blue eyes or green eyes or something. And he just like got mad at me after we went on a second date or something. He was just like, oh, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, excuse you, what's going on? Oh, what's happening right now? And he said, why you didn't give me head yet? And I said,
wait, hold up, wait a minute. He had the audacity to speak to you like that. See, that right there was you're gone. That's highly disrespectful.
You're gone. It was terrible because he was like, yeah, normally women just do it, and they do it on the first date because I'm not asking for it. What? Because you got some different color eyes. People just supposed to get on their knees. So some of these people think they just so pretty. Like, next. And then I've said before to people, and I put it in the book, just different crazy dating experiences or different things I'll hear from people. Just one of the guys was saying on a date now, he didn't even want to give me his number unless I told him. He didn't even know I was a virgin, but this is just, he said, yeah, I don't need sex, but I need this. He said, I need head. I need that. So you can't even give my number unless you promise me you're going to do that to me 2 to 3 times a week. Because I already got 2 women doing it for me, but you could be my only one. What?
I would have looked at that fool and said, you need to start using that head that's on top of your shoulders. Because apparently you don't get... See, but that's one thing that somebody had said to me is that, and you said it too, because there are so many women out there doing all kinds of things, a lot of men will come to you a certain way because it's almost like that standard of, I don't want to say the women are promiscuous. If that's what they've chosen to do, then that's their choice. But that doesn't mean that you should then assume that narrative applies to everyone else. Yeah. And that's what I've found a lot of women who want to lead with, I want to be respected. I am not merely here just to have sex with you. If that's what you think is going to happen, you can move on to the next one, is that they feel like they are that competition of the girl who's doing everything versus the girl who respects herself. Not to say that you don't respect yourself if you're doing everything, though, it's a little complicated to kind of slice that up, but you're doing you. So if you're doing you and it's authentic and you just feel that way, I'm never going to tell you that it's wrong.
Right.
If that's how you really feel, if you feel you're that liberated. But that idea that he said that to you, first of all, a couple things were wrong in that conversation. So one, I already got a couple girls doing it. Then you clearly don't need me. So let them keep doing it. What you need me for? What do you, is he trying to cover 7 days a week? Is that what we're doing? He's trying to have, as those young folks say, he's trying to build up his roster? Is that what? That's insane. Tell me some more crazy dating stories. Tell me, because that one probably is in the top 10, I'm sure. What else?
That's in the top 10. So, you try to see like, okay, maybe if somebody's older, maybe they're more mature. No. maybe if this person, sometimes I was in a relationship with a 51-year-old, and he said, well, I feel like I'm 24. He was more immature than a 26-year-old I dated. And so so I went out with this guy, and he was like 52 or 53, and I normally don't date people because I still want to have kids, so I've been thinking about that too. I don't want to dabble into that because but I was just like, okay, I'm gonna give his brother a chance. He seemed like he got himself together. He's stable. He's this, he that. He has no kids yet. He still want kids. Whatever. We'll see. So we went out. He said he was celibate. So I said, oh, this might work. He understand. He's celibate. This and that. So we at the date, and we went to like Bar Louie's or whatever, and we were sitting at the bar and stuff, and we were just talking and stuff. And he was like, yeah, I'm celibate and stuff, but I don't get them people that are waiting for marriage and this and that, and just kept going on and on. And I'm like, oh man, this ain't gonna work. Why he take me all the way here to be talking about this? And that's something I also noticed. I'm gonna tell you in a minute. But so he said, what are your thoughts about people that be waiting all the way to marriage and stuff? I said, well, I'm one of those people. I'm a virgin. I never had sex. What, you trying to get a free meal out of me? What? I'm like, excuse you? And he's like, yeah, what you trying to do? And I said, no, I'm waiting because of blah, blah. And I start talking. He said, check, please. Like, I'm ready to go. Check, please.
Wow.
I'm like, rude.
But here, okay. But let me just say one thing, I will say this in his defense. One, he was rude about how he tried to leave the date. That was rude. He should have respected where you stood on it and be like, something, that's how you are. I respect it. We're probably not a match because one, either I don't want to be married, whatever it is. It's okay if somebody's not good with what you're saying, it's okay for them not to be okay with it. But why do they have to be disrespectful?
Disrespectful.
For something that truly they don't have any ownership of, by the way. Like, there is no given that someone is going to have sex with you.
Thank you. And he thought that one little day at Bar Louie's, we didn't even get a meal. We were just getting a drink, just chilling. And he like, trying to get a free meal out of me. I'm like, what meal? We didn't even have a meal. We just getting to know each other and blah. So yeah, it was weird. And then he over, as we walking back to the car, he calculating like, well, at least I met somebody cool. He was talking about the bartender. At least I got out the house. At least and he's saying all this out loud. Like, why this wasn't a waste of his time?
I don't. And see, again, this to me, this is someone who should have been more mature. Again, if he didn't like the idea that you were like waiting till marriage, all he had to do was like, okay, we're not a match because that's not what I'm looking for. Just like what you're not looking for is someone who is just trying to be sexually active with you. And you respected him. You didn't, say, oh, well, something disrespectful to him, like, well, this was a waste of my time. And not to mention, I'm sorry, let me get this right. You gonna take somebody to Bar Louie and you think you about to get down? That's the best you got?
Thank you.
Is Bar Louie's? Okay, so I'm just gonna be bougie and wrong.
Are you really spending money? Are you really
at least take me to Michael Jordan's, or take me, drops impress me, because that wasn't impressive. But for him to think, somebody right now is talking about me like, oh, and I'm not even like a materialistic person. But if you're going to tie the meal to what you think is my value, you better do better than that.
Do better than that. Oh, he paid for parking. That was $25. Okay, wow. And you know what?
Oh, our guests are weighing in. She says, wait, these sound like Chicago dude antics. Are you from Chicago? Yes.
Yes, it's definitely Chicago dudes. Yes. And
yes.
Something else was that I noticed a lot of the men, when they say they celibate or when was the last time you had sex? Oh, 2 years ago. That's the common answer. 2 years ago. I'm like, is this common, the trend, like $40 on the table on the nightstand? Like, y'all get together. Hey, we all got to say 2 years. We ain't had sex in 2 years. So is that enticing a girl to be like, oh man, he must, I want to go now because he been waiting that long. He got self-control. So I'm thinking anytime I hear 2 years, before the guy can say it, I'd be like, 2 years. Yeah, how you know?
That sounds like the standard answer that people will say, oh, so if they're bold enough to ask a person, well, how many people have you slept with? And they always say that people down the number. So they'll be like, oh, like 7 people. Like if someone says 7, double it. It's probably been 14.
Yeah, right. I've heard that. I've heard stuff like that. These
So
people be
I
interesting.
get your boundaries. I mean, you're very clear about what you want. And I mean, and I'm be curious, everybody listening, they're probably saying to themselves, wow, she really is committed to this, because you're still speaking of, I want to get married, I want to
I
have
do.
kids. You still have those goals.
I
You
do.
you still want those things, despite trying to find some person that can make this work has been complicated. So how do you set up those boundaries, or how do you keep yourself, I guess, motivated, or not feeling like, well, just forget it, because after 42 years, if I haven't found somebody, I'm not going to find somebody. So I'm just going to do it. How do you maintain your integrity with this?
Well, I mean, I've waited this long. I'm like, look, I tell people 40 years in the wilderness. I got to be seeing the promised land soon. So I'm looking towards the promised land. So if I'm trying to do things according to my faith, as sense the right way according to my faith, then it's like, hey, I I'm not gonna be made ashamed of. It's gonna be a big testimony, a big blessing. It's gonna help somebody. Some young person need to hear it. There's times, Maya, I wanted to give up. I really did. I've been weak. I've been cheated on in relationships sometimes. And I'm like, you know what? Skip this. My husband, 9 times out of 10, ain't gonna be no virgin. Why I'm gonna give myself to him? Even if I lose it to one person, we neither one of us can say we lost it to each other. So, then I had these moments, and then somebody would call me, yeah, you still waiting? Can you come talk to these young people? And there was one time can you talk to 50 young people? It was guys and girls dedicating themselves to say they're gonna wait for marriage. And I'm like, oh
Really?
my God. As soon as I'm ready to like, ugh. And then it was another time where somebody was cheating on me. And I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm gonna find somebody I trust. And then and then I felt bad because the man was like, Mel, I like you. I really was thinking, I want to have kids with you. I want to be with you. It sounds like you trying to get me to start you off. And I'm like, this is what I don't want people to look at me as. Why am I trying to do this to this brother?
So
And
in looking for your person, do you also want your person to be a virgin?
no, you don't have to be. I
Okay.
mean, I dated a virgin before. I dated a virgin last year. When we went on one day, it was terrible.
Okay. That's not the response I thought, because I felt that, okay, you both have similar interests. It sounds like you've chosen to both do something that's difficult. How could that be the worst date?
It was terrible. He was trying to lose it before a certain birthday. So I'm like, what? And I kept trying to tell him, if we got to know each other and we both lost it together, wouldn't that be beautiful? He said, girl, I'm just trying to explore. I don't think he like, yeah, I don't know if we a good fit because I'm trying to just, explore some stuff. And it sounds like you want something that's more serious. That's what the virgin telling me. I'm like, excuse you. I went home and cried low key because I'm just like,
Okay.
dang, I'm getting turned down by a virgin.
Right. That's like, okay, the person I thought that might understand me the best. But wait a minute. Do you think he was being honest about, with that attitude, with being a virgin still? How old was he? Can I ask roughly? How old was he?
Well, he was like 28, 29.
Oh, okay, he was still young. So
28, 28. He
so
was trying to,
it was possible. Okay, okay.
yeah, he was trying to lose it before he was 30. And I'm like, in 2 years, we could be married or something. Like, but he's like, no. So he said he really didn't get a chance to explore because he kept changing schools as a kid. And he didn't get to explore because of whatever. He was awkward, didn't know how to talk to girls and stuff like that. And so now he got his confidence at 28 and he want to put himself out there and finally have sex. And so he was, attracted to me, but then he was just like, dang, you ain't trying to explore. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to settle down, be with somebody. And so we felt like, hey, this ain't a good fit.
He said something that is a current trend. And I do think this is why men are remaining virgins longer than women, which still kind of blows my mind a bit.
Yeah, that's where
There's something that's called male loneliness that is now being discussed, that a lot of young men are expressing they do not know really how to properly adult. They don't know how to talk to women. They feel very left out in society.
yeah.
And that how he described his struggles sounds like it plugs right into the idea of what this male loneliness is supposed to be equating to for a lot of younger men who said they just don't know how to approach women, what to say. And I will honestly note to say that I have noticed over time that women definitely have become far more open-minded and aggressive sexually than probably I've ever seen them
Yeah,
in my 53 years. So there definitely is a different type of woman out there that might be different to approach for some men.
yeah.
Um, and his description of it actually, I could see why at that point he was still a virgin, but it doesn't sound like he made a conscious or intentional choice.
It doesn't sound like he made an intentional choice at all. And I'm like, dude, I was just like trying to entertain the thought because, I'm like, we're like-minded. I didn't think he was the most sexiest guy either. Like he was somebody I could say no to. But
Sticking with the no. By the way, people, one of Melanie's ways to maintain and boundaries is find that fella you can say no to, because saying yes it makes it hard. Look, I understand that philosophy. Like, I'm not gonna put something in front of me that I'm gonna have a hard time with, because eventually he might wear you down. Like,
he might weigh you down. You're gonna get along one of these days and it's gonna be weird. So
all right. So then does this mean, in the kind of keeping, obviously with what you're doing, are you avoidant of things that can put you in compromising situations like alcohol? Because one of the stats that recently I was looking at in the research is saying there is a decline in alcohol consumption with younger people, which they're also equating with a lot of casual sex, which is often tied to alcohol consumption, is also dropping as well.
So I will say this, Maya. I didn't start drinking until basically I was 35 years old. So I was saying, I was like, okay, Melanie, you saying no to everything. Like, say yes to something. So I was like, you know what? I'm grown. I'm gonna have a drink. I was out of the country, with a family member, and they were like, hey, if you ever thought about trying anything, you know, this is the time to try it. It's all you can eat, all you can drink, whatever. Try some stuff. And so I still was sneaking, like, no, I don't want to drink in front of my family because, hey, they gonna run back and tell everybody else. Because my nickname with the family is Jesus' wife.
Jesus' wife.
Yeah. So I'm like, y'all ain't about to tease me. I'm the oldest, but I was the last person to drink. Because I didn't grow up in the household where my parents was even drinking. So, okay. but then, so I was like, okay. So the only drink I remember the name of it, the only drink I remember the name was from, only because of a cartoon. I remember Marge Simpson used to throw back Long Island's. So that's what I ordered for my first drink.
Wow. Melanie, that was a really big step, because a Long Island is not for the faint of heart. To the non-drinker.
My chest was hurting. I was like, why don't people drink? I was about to die. My sister seen me over here choking, having a hard time. What are you drinking? I'm like, she's like, oh, you ain't no first drink. So anyway, yes, I'm happy I waited later to have alcohol, because as an adult, yes, I've had a situation where I was very close to losing myself with having alcohol in my system. Mm-hmm. And so I was around this guy I had been dating, and and I tell people in the book, no matter what the title of a person is, when y'all alone, they can act any old type of way. So the guy I was dating at the time, I dated maybe a couple of preachers. He was a preacher. And so I guess he could tell I was a little off square. He tried to flip me around real quick and tried to stick it in my booty. I'm like, hold on, whoa, wait a minute.
Well, because you do know, Melanie, there's a lot of ways that people classify intimacy. For some people, I had a younger person tell me, by the way, my younger people in therapy, I'm like, I'm old. I said, in my mind, I'm like, I'm so old. Because they say stuff to me like, what do you mean you were having sex in your parents' house and you're 15? What, your parents know that you have sex?
I wouldn't be alive.
This, again, when I tell you there's been a shift in how sex is viewed, discussed, and allowed even with younger individuals, it kind of makes me cringe a little bit. Not a little bit. It makes me cringe a lot.
A lot.
To know that it's something that, again, it's about how people choose to value it. It's, for some people, it's something that they hold close. It defines them. They don't like, and other people, they don't feel it's a really truly intimate act. They say it's just an act. It's just something that you do. It depends on the person. Somebody actually sent a question they wanted me to ask you. What is the longest relationship you have had?
So the longest relationship I had was 5.5 years. I was engaged before.
5.5. Okay, so 5.5 years. That's a long time. And you were engaged. why did it not end in marriage?
Just because sex is not an issue, don't mean other things can't be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So he was controlling, and we just wasn't a good fit. We were more friendly than anything. I'm trying to put this on the charge, Maya. I don't want us to die because I was gonna do desktop, now I'm doing phone.
Right. We weren't going to do this until our little technical issue made you switch over to your phone. Got you.
Yes. So I'm trying to
Uh,
make sure because this is good, and I don't want us to
no,
lose
no,
anything.
don't want to end it. I mean, that's
Don't want to.
interesting, and you're right. Sex is only people one dimension of your relationship, but it is equally a very important. And I don't downplay that for people. And here's the thing that I would think is interesting,
Mhm.
that everybody sexual energies can be very different in relationships for people. You can
Mhm.
have a person who can have a really high sex drive and a
Mhm.
person who has a mid to low, and even that can create issues within relationships for people because they're not meeting up at the same place. So
Right.
sex can be a very complicated thing to even navigate, even if you're having it within your relationship. But 5
True.
years, that's like a long time
Five and a
to
half
be in
years,
that.
and it worked out too because like being younger, like I knew he only had one sex partner before me. So he was a virgin before I knew who he lost his virginity to and everything. Um and so it was different when he knew where I stood. And so he decided to be celibate as well. And I mean, it wasn't like he was one of those people that already had 1,000 partners and now it's like, oh, let me be celibate now. Not saying people can't do that. They can. But he had one sexual partner before me.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay,
But
so him embarking into it was a little bit easier to kind of move
navigate.
forward.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been in other relationships where the people, yeah, they had to work with me. I was in a long term, like 2.5 years here, maybe 3 years there. um so I've been in long term relationships. You can still have a relationship. People think you
Mhm.
can't when you are a virgin. You just got to be creative. You got to find other ways to be intimate, other ways to enjoy each other company, other ways to, and then
Mm,
it just kind of helps weed out stuff because you really don't be knowing these people, and then a lot of people regret who they have sex with.
mhm,
They are really not
mhm.
educated. I've shared with people. It was a guy I was thinking about, like, dating, being with and stuff, and he was like, hey, I said, well, the people you've had sex with, do you get them tested? And he said, oh yeah, I make sure they get their pap smears. That ain't got nothing to do with STDs and STIs. Pap
He's
smears got everything to do with her. Like, what are you talking about? Not educated enough. He got tested and he had an STD. So I get
and you
men,
know what?
I get
Yeah,
men, I get people tested, even though we not having sex, because I still don't want to be in a relationship kissing somebody who got something, and.
see, this kind of plays nicely into the next question somebody asked. Outside of intercourse, is all intimacy off limits?
So I'll say this: I don't judge other like virgins or people that are celibate. Like you mentioned earlier, to be a virgin, the definition of it, if you look it up, it means to actually have intercourse, and it actually means vagina and penis intercourse. That's what makes a person a virgin.
Yes.
So if people have other ways they want to be intimate, I'm not judging them. Hey, but that's the definition of being a virgin.
So when you kind of have this conversation with people, and it sounds like something I said a bit earlier, is that they have to determine how they're defining this, like what's their limitations, what for them feels like it's gone too far, they've crossed the line, whereas they can still be present in their relationship with somebody and feel like they're being having some form of intimacy. Like you said, one of the things that most people don't get about sex is it isn't just about intercourse.
It's not
Intimacy can exist on so many other levels, but when people are kind of like limited in their thinking, that was a nice way I said
limiting
that.
anything. Right. That was a really nice way.
In their minds, it's all about the actual act itself, the penetration, not realizing that there can be so much more that can make something equally as enjoyable, even if you never cross that line. And it's interesting how a lot of people though can't see it that way. So for you, it sounds
And
like you know your limitations and your boundaries.
Yeah. And then too, you have to think about somebody told me before, everybody that if you can't see yourself having a baby with the person, you shouldn't even be laying down with that person. Because there's always a chance you can have a baby with them. They're like, oh, I don't want him to be my daddy, my baby daddy. Oh, I don't want her to be my baby mama. Well, you shouldn't be having sex with them.
But see, you know what that leads into? Another whole conversation about having unprotected sex.
But I mean,
Because
condoms break, Maya.
well, I mean, but I agree. But whether it's I'm just saying there's so much responsibility that goes with having sex that most people just do not consider. I think for one moment in time when HIV was a bigger thing, it put people on notice because they were like, wait, I can die doing this.
Yeah.
And I think people
Yeah.
kind of scaled back and looked at it a little different for a minute. Like,
Right.
I'm not dying to have sex. I'm not trying to die when I have sex. So hence, I think in that moment in time, people kind of stepped back and it looked a little bit different in that landscape about how people were approaching it. And then as soon as it seemed like it was less of a threat, people kind of resumed what they were doing, so to speak.
Yeah.
You
And
said something earlier. Let me ask you
Mhm.
this question. Let me walk you back just a little bit to like high school. Do you believe that by putting a teenage girl on birth control, is it giving them a pass to go out and be sexually active? Or giving your son, I got to be balanced, condoms? Is that kind
I
of
think
saying it's okay, you can have sex?
kind of. Because the thing is, some of these kids not even thinking about that like that. So you putting thoughts in their head that they're not even thinking about, but now they got the equipment to do it. So that's another thing I'm working on, Maya. I'm trying to bring abstinence programs back in the schools because it needs to even be an option. They just want to take it off the table. Oh, everybody having sex. Everybody not. Give the kids an option. You can have sex or you don't have to have sex. This how you can have protected sex. This how you can really have protected sex, not having it at all. Give them the option again. People just
You
like,
know,
oh,
yeah.
it's unrealistic to even talk about abstinence. No, it's not. Because
No, it's
everybody
not.
that's not on their mind.
Why is that not an option on the table as everything else is an option on the table?
That's
To
what
know that
I'm
you have
saying.
choices. The choice does not mean that you have to feel like you have to have sex because your peers are doing it. If you legitimately don't feel comfortable doing it, then don't do it. I
And
think
don't do it.
I think a lot of kids need to hear somebody say that to them because many of their peers are engaging in it and making them feel as if something is not right about them if they're not doing it too. I'll tell you something else that has had an increase. And for all my parents listening to this, and this is rolling around in your head, with our new digital age individuals that are in that kind of Gen Z, which Gen Z is, I want to say it's before millennials, I think, and then after them is alphas or
Yeah,
something. I
it
can
is.
never keep track of all that. There has been a sharp increase because of the fact that social interactions have really dropped exponentially. Like kids go to school and kind of go home. unless
Mhm.
unless they're like in a sport or they have a hobby. A lot of kids are not experiencing the socialization that I would say I had as a kid. We went outside and played.
Mhm.
We didn't have like all these, things going on. There has been a sharp increase in a lot of inappropriate behavior online. So sending nude pictures, um, young individuals being lured out by somebody because they're struggling with something with their, let's say, confidence or mental health, and they come across someone online who gives them this attention, and then all of a sudden now you've got young girls sending these pictures. By the way, young boys are equally as vulnerable in this as well. So now we're also seeing a sharper increase in these type of activities because of, unfortunately, the sexualization of our younger people. We make
Yeah.
them feel that, and this could be me just being an old person. Anytime you turn on a TV and you see the likes, and this has got nothing to do, it's just not my cup of tea. The likes of someone like Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, you name it, the list goes down. They sell sex. They make it seem like sex is normal. Like put it out there. Again, it's that I'm in control. I'm the boss. All this stuff. So now we also have another narrative that younger people are hearing like, yeah, you should be doing this. This is how you can control somebody. That's interesting too. Like you can control somebody with this. We're also having that narrative which is really really strong for young people. So consumption of, social media, whatever, music has to me also increased why I think the number of women are more sexually active than men.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say it's the music. That's why in the book I talk about boundaries. Boundaries. What you listen to is one of the main things too. You know, it's bad. And when you talk about the youth, girls are being teased for being virgins.
Yes.
Somebody, yeah, people call me and tell me different stories about these. So one of the stories was a 14-year-old girl was getting teased by the girls because she's still a virgin. And they're like, you still a virgin? And she wanted to lose it before she graduated. Trying to rush and lose it. Some knucklehead boy before she graduated. I'm just like, this is sad. At least I wouldn't tease. I'm like, girl, normally that's the thing you think about the boys being teased for that, not the girls.
Well, to me, it's slightly, it aligns with notice. When people are not part of something, they want to make it seem like whatever they're not is not good. You hear that same conversation that smart kids get teased by people who are less intelligent. Does
Yeah.
that make any sense? They have a
Yeah.
problem with feeling like because they're smart that's a bad thing. No, you'll be okay. The people who are making fun of you or teasing you are the people that realize that's not them. So they want to make you feel small and unimportant because you're not part of the group. It sounds like this kind of sexual demonizing is the same thing. We're going to tease you because you're not like us. Well, good, because what you're doing, okay, that's on you. If that's what you like. But I also feel if you don't talk to your kids, they don't get that piece. They don't understand that. And I'm
Yeah.
telling people, the narrative out here among young people, and I'm talking about the high schoolers, the stuff I learned, I had to keep doing this in therapy, like closing my mouth.
It's terrible. It's
Because I was
terrible.
like, why are you even thinking about this at this? I'm talking about the 14-year-olds, the 15-year-olds. Sex is common. It has no value
None.
whatsoever.
It has none with the high schoolers because I worked at a high school for 3 years. I'm a second grade teacher now, and even the second graders were struggling with some stuff. I'm like, how you in second grade struggling with some stuff? Um, Last year there was a second grader who was writing letters to the other girls. She made a picture of a booty and a dick, and she said, "My dick and your A," and drew a picture of that. Yes, and gave it to the girl. You don't have a D, and how you even know about that, sweetheart? Is somebody doing that to you? Like, what is happening? It's just too much. And then
I Oh, that's insane.
it's
That
insane.
that's just insane.
It's
I
insane.
actually once I had a friend. It was a guy like back in my dating years that actually had lived in Atlanta and had come back up here and was in education. And he
Mhm.
said he literally said, Maya, he's like, I was mortified. He was like, I got a call that I had to come out to the bus because kids like, and mind you, these are like fourth, fifth graders, so right at that age, actually performing oral sex on the bus. Little
Yeah.
girls were doing it to little boys. And he's like, I was mortified. He was like, why is this happening? People, let me just say this. As an adult, you can choose to do whatever you want. But when we talk about the path we're leading down our young people, to allow them to be irresponsible in their sexual decisions isn't good because 9 times out of 10, most of that activity ends up in pregnancy.
It
And so now
does.
you keep talking about a young person who is ill-equipped to be a parent, now being a parent. And if anyone's been paying attention, have we not seen this vicious cycle specifically within the Black community? I could care less about other people, what they're doing. This conversation, the amount of teen pregnancies, and even that's a problem because now we glorify teen pregnancies with shows.
Yeah.
Teen
No, you're
mom.
right.
I'm like, why is there a show about teen mom? Why,
Why
why
is
are
that
we
show about?
why are we glorifying this? We are glorifying things. Don't get me wrong, Melanie. I don't think anybody has to be pristine and innocent. I'm not saying that, but where are the morals?
Where are the morals? Where are the
Where's
guidelines? Where are the
the
cutoff
respect?
period? They ain't no boundaries. Ain't no cutoff. It's
No.
it's it's bad. But in that story I was just telling you that when you talk to the the people that's supposed to handle stuff like that, the services that's supposed to handle stuff like that, they'll say, "Oh, well that child was 8 years old that drew that picture. It'd be different if she was 4." What?
At 8 years old, you should have no idea about any of that. I don't care what anybody says.
But
And
then
if you do,
that
you've seen
lets you
something you weren't supposed to see.
yes, but that lets you know too where the youth are, because it's a range or gauge of this is the normal, this is normacy, you know. So it's just like, okay, that's not foreign to us. It's like, what, when you call the services is supposed to look into the families and stuff. So yeah, it was, I was just like blown away. I was like, woo. But I worked at another school, and before I got there, I heard some stories of, it was what you was talking about, the young lady on the bus. It was a young lady that used to hide out in the auditorium after school. And so somebody ended up like, why is, I see young men going in. It was men lined up, little boys lined up to get head from her. And she was raising money to buy butter cookies for lunch the next day. Ain't no butter cookies ever been that good. I'm like, whoa.
I know I'm not supposed
God.
to. I know I'm not supposed to laugh at that.
My God. I'm laughing because I'm like, the butter cookie, like that's the mindset, the child mindset of, I got to get these butter cookies. Instead of borrowing some money, getting some money from somebody, that's your go-to. That's your go-to to make money.
But this gets
She's
back to,
seen it somewhere. She's seen it somewhere.
She's seen it somewhere. That's what she has come to know, and that's the thing. There are so many vulnerable children out there. Just adults, like I said, adults can make those decisions. If you decide that sex is just an act and that's what you want to do, that's your choice. But respect when other people decide it's not their choice, they're handling it differently. So you talked about boundaries. I do believe the music is a big piece. What other boundaries would, I mean, like in the book, is your book written more towards adults? Is it written towards parents, children, or just anybody who kind of wants to kind of wrap their mind around this?
Since everybody is exposed to this world, the sexualized world, it's for anybody that can think or need to hear it before they get, you know. So as people, okay, so ultimately, I didn't have a blueprint growing up, being a virgin, didn't have one. I hope that this is a blueprint for somebody else coming up behind me. So I mean, even people that are celibate, they decide, hey, I want to be celibate. How do I even start? What are some boundaries? This is how you start. So it's for people that have not had sex, people that are thinking about not having it anymore. And it's for other people that are involved with people like that. They can understand how to treat people like that, you know, because what's going on in their head. I tell people the good, the bad, the ugly. Here's some good things you're going to hear since you're waiting, deciding to take this journey. Here's some bad things you're going to hear, but be strong. So anything I could think about that I've experienced through my 42-year-old journey, I wanted to put it in there. Like, here's some crazy things to avoid on dates. You know, here's some situations I almost been raped. Don't fall into these pitfalls that almost happened to me. You know, be ahead of the curve, like be ahead of the game. Here's a blueprint of things that might happen. These are games people may play, you know, but then also there's a spiritual component. Here's some things that happen, you know, when you do combine your souls with people who are, when you're having sex with them, soul ties, what happens? You know, also here's some things that just to keep in mind, some verses to meditate on. Here's a whole list of things you can do instead of having sex. Some people are like, what? I ain't having sex. What can I do? Here's some list.
Well, I'm like, are you having sex that much that you just can't find something else to fill?
They can't find another doy. What else is there to do?
Funny. Wow, buddy. Okay. If someone was to ask you through all of this, and you've made a very conscious and intentional choice, and I always say, to me, this aligns with the same way I tell people dating with purpose. You know, if you're going to be a serial dater, it's okay. Just be clear about that's who you are when you encounter other people. If you made this decision that you want to maintain your virginity or you want to be abstinent, whatever it is, respect other people's decisions. But in this, is there anything you would say you regret or that, I wish, anything like that?
So something I regret. Yes, I regret not having, not setting, trusting people. I'll say that, trusting people. Sometimes you trust people based off of, like I said, you think the titles. Oh, it's a police officer. Oh, you think, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. You better be careful everywhere you go. You better be careful whoever you're around. Because when they're not around other people, they can do anything. and it's your word against theirs. So it's like you got to be careful of you gonna say no, but then they already got in their mind what they have planned for you, and so you don't always you may or may not escape that situation. So don't play with fire. There's some people I even the thought of like, oh, this person may leave, so let me tiptoe around the fact of, hey, maybe I will have sex, maybe I won't, no, I know I'm not having sex with you. Let me not even play with that. If you're gonna leave, so I won't be in a situation where I'm feeling all, my back is against the wall and I'm just trying to, come up with something new to keep them around. No, be who you are, know how you're doing it, and stick to your guns, and I'm happy that even in my weak moments that I feel for real, God snapped me back on my toes, like, hey, no, you on the right path, just keep moving forward, no, because I mean, the person who I thought about losing it to, he got tested and he had syphilis, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, so I'm just like, God be like, sweetheart, you doing right, just you disease free, stay focused.
See, that right there.
All that stuff will come when it's supposed to come. You gonna come when it's supposed to come.
That's so. My final question, and I'll let you have a parting thought with the listeners. If you never find that right person, are you going to take this to the grave?
No, I know I'm gonna find the right person. I am. Even if I have
I
to.
like that optimism. I'm like, nope, not even going to entertain that thought.
I'm not going to entertain that thought. Now, the thing is, will he be in my Black community? I want a Black.
Now that's a whole nother show. Don't you start that. That's a whole nother show right there.
But it might not be in my community, because right now, a lot of them ain't trying to get married. They want polys.
The polys. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I lied. I do actually have one more question. Most people, and actually somebody posted this, I'm just not going to put it up there, but it's about, why has it been so hard to find someone? You couldn't find someone that were in respective Christian groups, is what they're asking. Someone who could respect and understand your position, because if they say they're truly, a Christian or spiritual, they would value what you're bringing to the table. Is that not a group of people that have turned out to be a good fit for you?
No. So I've been in my church, my same church, all my life. Ain't nobody in there for me. And then too, you see people they marry and divorce. I don't want to date sister so-and-so's ex-husband. I don't want to. So then going outside to other Christian groups. Some of these people, you can see why they're single, and it's just like, no, I want a good caliber of guy. I don't want somebody who now he got 6 kids. Now he's saying, hey girl, I'm celibate now and I'm all for God. One dude tried to talk to me. He had 14 kids.
Okay. What?
I think he was a stepmom, but he was really in God's face. I'm like, so it's still just because it's God's face.
First of all, he's a hard no at 14 kids. I don't care unless you are independently wealthy, you got to be broke. Your child support is robbing the entire household budget. That's a hard no. Yes, you people can tell me I am shallow for saying it. That's a whole lot of child support, and that's a no.
10, 14 kids.
If you got 14 kids, you've had no discretion with anything at that point, to me.
So I'm just like, it's still in the Christian faith. Like I said, people are still, the children's ministry is not lacking. People are still having babies, and then now they see you and they be like, oh, virtuous woman, I think I'm your husband. And it's like, I want a man of valor. I want a man that got himself together too. So, and unfortunately, sometimes it's where I run into people who are not even in church, who respect me more in my virginity than sometimes the men that are in church. They'll say, oh girl, I believe in everything in the Bible but that, or different things like that. So you would think, because I mean, like I even told you, the virgin didn't understand the virgin. So sometimes the Christian ain't gonna understand the Christian.
Well, that's why there's a resurgence of poly, because it's in the Bible. Someone said they were doing it in the Bible, so why can't we all be poly? That's probably a show too I should have about that whole thing about polyamorous living love is a very interesting and challenging thing.
Yeah.
You brought up two things that would probably be great shows. That, and obviously the idea of deciding that, and I've heard other Black women say this with a little reluctance, by the way. I
Yeah.
really want to be with a Black man,
I
but I
want to.
might have to come to the reality that if I can't find someone, there is a world full of other kind of men that actually might embrace this piece of me differently. I've the realization, mind you, people, when I say this, plenty of people date outside their race. So don't
Yeah.
misunderstand what I'm saying. But I've heard a lot of Black women in conversations I've been in, just their true preference is they would want to be with a Black man. But I'm now hearing a lot of, especially professional Black women who are doing well and struggling with dating, finally say, I may have to put that as not the top priority because for some reason I'm not being successful at finding someone who can be a good match for me for different reasons.
Yeah.
So,
And Maya, another thing is that well, this is my personal feeling. I feel like a Black man has no reason to date outside his race, but a Black woman
now
does.
you didn't do another show. Now, see? Okay. Show
A
three.
Black
I guess
woman
you're about
do.
to be a multiple guest coming on because we're about to just knock out some conversations, Melanie. That will definitely, you don't want to get people started on this one. You
I'm
don't
just
want to get
saying,
people.
no
This is
excuse.
a toughie right here. Whoo,
It's too many
girlfriend.
Black
Don't.
sisters. It's too many Black sisters you can choose from for you to be reaching outside elsewhere. No, you ain't got no excuse. Unless you just love, I just loved her and I ain't see color. Which some people say, I don't see color. And I just loved her. But I got a problem with the Black men that think other is better.
But, again, a very complicated conversation. That's what I'm saying. And the thing is, if you have it with enough people, some things make more sense than others, and some people authentically don't. That's not a reason they do it. And you do have some people that feel differently.
It just
But it's definitely something that's a very hot button for a lot of Black women, because as you know, the rate of Black women marrying is lower, often finding there are fewer Black men. So let's be honest, if your dating pool is definitely like shallower, and now your competition is everybody, which it is what it is, it
it
does
is
make it it does make it more complicated. So again, here you are saying, I'm standing on my laurels of what's important to me as a Black woman. You already have additional, because what you actually, I feel like how you brought those things in is you're saying, outside of the fact that I am a virgin, I then have all these other things that I have to deal with that complicate dating for me. There you go. That's your next book.
right. And Maya, if I got this far, and there's people that are looking to me, what I would get talked about even more if I
Yeah.
ended up pregnant.
Oh
Like,
my God. Yeah, you can't do that. No, we can't.
I can't
You
do that.
can't.
I gotta see
You
it
can't do
through.
it. You got to
I
see
got
it through. I
pregnant to
agree.
somebody with
You,
7 kids. They like, Melanie, you could have did that in your 20s, 30s. What is wrong with you? Dumb.
this is true. You do. You got to see it through. But I believe in your heart. You didn't like one. People, this is not an easy choice that she has made.
Oh, it's not
Trust
easy.
me. I'm
It's not.
sure you have been cheated on, dumped. The list of things go on that people that just struggle to accept who you were. And the choice you made was not wrong. But it's not the popular or common choice, is the thing.
And you know what the thing is? Even though people talk about me, guys, or they've cheated and different things like that, they always come back. They be like, you know what? After they done got they nut off and stuff, then they be trying to circle back. Hey, girl, you really are special. I just couldn't think at the moment, and this and that and that. So it's never like they like you. They always come back. Go, somebody get that yet? Can I be number two then?
Oh,
If I couldn't be number one, it's always
I
something
can't.
weird.
What is
So they
wrong
come
with
back,
people? But that's why I'm a
and I'm like,
therapist.
stay gone. Just stay gone.
That's why I have a job. That's why I got a job. Something wrong with people. I'm gonna have a job because something's wrong with people. I just tell you this. I'm sure to many men, you are looked at like a unicorn. You are a challenge. So I do think there's some men, just for the sheer fact to see if they can break you. That would be
Yeah.
interesting. Because men always say they love the chase, the challenge. So I could see some men trying to double down and act like they could hang it and do it and probably can't. So
Yeah.
I could see the challenges that have probably come along the way with people maybe behaving like they authentically wanted to be with you,
Yeah.
but that wasn't their real intention. I could see that being a problem.
So far, Maya, so far, the worst situation of that was this guy. We got all the way to marriage counseling because he wanted to just have sex with me. Played the role that tough because
I can't. Oh, I wish she would have gone and it could have been me. I just would have loved to have been the person sitting, the therapy lady, sitting there having this conversation with him. Love it. All right. So I'm putting the book up. Tell us about the book, where they can get it. If somebody is interested, because you're an abstinence expert, like if they could, obviously, where they get the book, but also if they want to have you come out and speak, like how does this all work?
So you can find me on social media. I'm at Mel B Media on
There you
Instagram.
go.
And then
It's
I'm
scrolling right
also
there at the bottom.
on Facebook, Melanie L Brown. I got the same name, Maya, as the scary Spice from the Spice Girls. So I put that L in there so people will
Is that why
know.
you do the L? Because you don't want
Yes.
to be Mel B?
I don't know. I ain't got no baby by Eddie Murphy. So
Okay.
so they can find me. And then too, if you want to have me speak places, because sometimes people want me to speak to their youth or just speak to them, or just, hey, can you get on a phone call with my granddaughter or my child? My email is MEL_B as in boy, R as in Ronald, N as in Nancy at yahoo.com. Thank you,
There you
everybody.
go.
And thank you, Maya. I appreciate you for reaching out to me.
Yes, yes. Everybody, I'm gonna make it easy. Somebody's gonna give me grief about this, but I'm gonna keep doing it just because. Here, right there in the upper corner, a QR code just popped up. You can scan that code, and it'll take you right to the Kindle page to purchase the book. It looks like they have a Kindle special going on too. So if you're a Kindle user through Amazon, they have a special on your book. Of course, they've got like hard copies and stuff like that. Here's the thing I like about this book, people. It's not a long read. I kind of appreciate you got to the meat and potatoes of your story, and it's under I think 100 pages if I remember correctly.
Well,
That's a quick.
it's 110, but like people have said, it's an easy read. I've been hearing they like, whoa, this is. I don't tell everybody that's in it. I want them to be surprised, and it's like a Christian Zane book. It's like it's weird because they ain't got no sex in it.
Now you just drew him in. You said Zane. They're like, Zane? Okay. If you don't
Hey,
know Zane, then okay. But if you know
and,
Zane, you're like,
and it's
110 pages? You could read this in a day,
it's
legitimately, or a weekend. A
yeah.
weekend. So great read. Support Melanie. Great story. Gives you
Oh,
something
thank
to
you.
think about. Like if you're a person who values sex one way, don't navigate away from that because other people make you feel like your standards or morals don't meet theirs. Because at the end of the day, it's your body. So you
Shabbat.
get to decide what you do with it. And if they can't respect those boundaries you put up, that's probably not the person for you. Let's just be real.
And I think, Maya, the rewards waiting for sex last longer than actually having sex. So hopefully
Yeah.
people see the rewards page where
Hmm.
you can see some of the good things that can happen from you waiting.
Hmm. Yes, I totally agree. Everybody, this is the absolutely amazing. This is everything I expected. This is the amazing
Thank you, Maya.
Melanie L. Brown, everybody. Get the book. Get the book.
Get the
All
book.
righty, everybody. Yes. I'm telling you, I told you this conversation was going to be adult, but it's real. And whether it's you, let's say you have a teenager, a young adult in your life, and you think this conversation could be something that they should think about, why not? Get them the book. It's a quick read and it gives you some thoughts. And right now, there's a lot of conversation around this right now about the idea of relationships and sex and vulnerability. So, this could be a book that could definitely be really helpful and to give some insight to everybody who reads it. So, everyone, thank you for listening to this episode. As I said, the whole purpose of my podcast is to help you to identify your ambitions, harness that motivation, to help you to acquire the success and satisfaction you seek in your everyday life. The key thing is always remember if you missed any part of this episode, the one better. If you missed any of my other guests, you definitely need to tune in. You can always find the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Audibles, Spotify. Pretty much, if there's a podcast platform, you can find me. Just search Maya, My Ambition, Your Ambition. You can also listen to episodes of my show on my website, which is www.maya-speaks.com. Make life easy for yourself and just subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Maya Speaks to You. And I finally got my act together, and it's actually my handle for all of my social media. So you can follow me on Maya Speaks to You on Facebook, IG, X. That's the most I do right now. I'm trying to upgrade myself, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get there. Remember, too, you can always check out two things on my website that I'm really proud of. I have what is my inspirational blog, and it's something once a week on Wednesdays. I give you a thought to process. I'm not giving you a daily thought, one thought a week that I really want you to pull deep and to think about. And then the other thing that's on my website is my menopause blog. Everyone knows I'm super passionate about my menopause blog because I am the poster child for menopause, but there are 60 symptoms related to menopause that most women don't know. And fellas, you probably should know this too, because if there's a woman in your life and you feel like she's fully acting out, there's probably a reason why, and you don't know. You could benefit from reading my blog. And by the way, the whole thing about sex and menopause gets real complicated. So this conversation is an adult conversation. A lot of women struggle with that when they hit menopause. A lot of men don't understand. So that blog within itself could give you a lot of good nuggets, fellas. You can learn more about your partner just by checking out my blog. But of course, like I said, remember, if you want to have Maya in the palm of your hand, you can just make things so easy for yourself. And you can always just download the M.A.Y.A Experience app. You can find it in the Apple Store as well as in the Amazon store right here. See, you can scan the QR codes and it'll take you there. Just search the M.A.Y.A Experience and you can have Maya on the go, which means you have access to the blogs. You have access to all the podcasts that you can listen to the audio or you can watch the shows. It's all there for you right there in the palm of your hand. And you'll always know what's going on with M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition. All right, everybody. I appreciate the time you have taken. We went a little bit longer. We had some technical stuff, but to me, this was a very worthy conversation. So until next time, remember, your present becomes your past and your future is no more. People always kind of like don't get that, but I want you to think about what that means. But the key thing is to make the most of every single day because none of us are promised a tomorrow. And a lot of people forget that piece to value themselves that way. The next show, potentially next week or the week after, we're going to do a show about goal setting. I'm not about resolutions, but I want people to start rethinking the time and energy they put into how they're going to progress through their year, what you want to achieve. And goal setting should be realistic, timely, among other things. And a lot of people don't realize they never achieve the things that they want to because they've never set out to do it the way that they should. So make sure you join me for the goal setting show. Will happen about a week or two, and we'll jump deeper into that. All right, everybody. That's it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, ciao, and happy 20.
Whether you're on the go or listening on your cell phone, tablet, or laptop, you can find the show in the iTunes, Google, and iHeartRadio platforms.
With all due respect, I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Just search M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition, and get ready to be inspired and motivated to harness your ambition.